Oh, hello. Welcome to the video with me, Cambridge David, in partnership with Yerserga, the leading brand for IELTS training in China. And today we're talking all about cakes. Now today what we're going to do is to look at the current part 1 questions about cakes. I'm going to give you 2 model answers to each question and we'll analyse the language in those answers. But before we begin, there's 2 important things to remember. Number 1, cake can be either countable or uncountable. If we're talking about cake in general, then it is uncountable. Would you like some cake? I love cake. Uncountable. But if you're talking about individual cakes, then they become countable. Would you like 1 cake or 2 cakes? It's countable. Don't forget that. Okay, let's take a look at the first question. Do you like to eat cakes or other sweet foods? I absolutely love cakes, pastries, puddings, chocolate, any kind of dessert really. You see, I have a really sweet tooth. I couldn't live without them. If truth be told, I don't care for cakes. They're not really my thing, for the simple reason that I have to watch my weight, so I try to reduce my sugar consumption. Let's take a look at the language used by the candidates. The first candidate starts with the word love as an alternative to like, which is in the question. They then mention different types of desserts before saying that they have a really sweet tooth, which is a phrase which means that they like sweet food. Notice that it's always in the singular. They then finish with the phrase, I couldn't live without them, or without it, if it's uncountable. And that means that you really love it. It's one of your favourite things in life. You could use that to describe lots of different things. So all in all, a really good answer. Let's look at what candidate 2 said. They started with the phrase, if truth be told, which means that you're going to be very honest with the examiner. I don't care for means that you don't really like them. They're not your favourite thing. And the candidate uses the phrase, they're not my thing. I don't like them. Instead of saying because, they use the phrase for the simple reason that, which is a more advanced phrase. And they finish with, they want to watch their weight. Watch their weight means they have to be careful about what they eat in case they get a little bit fat. They like to watch their weight. All in all, a great answer. Let's look at the second question. Did you like to eat cakes as a child? I was really into cakes when I was young. I remember that whenever I went to a birthday party, I would always ask for the biggest slice. And more often than not, I'd go back for a second helping. Is that mine? Oh, thank you. I was quite unusual in that as a child, I was virtually the only one who didn't adore cake. In fact, to be perfectly honest, I never went for any kind of candy. I was far more into fruit and healthy eating. Now, the first candidate here starts with a lovely phrase, I was really into, meaning that they enjoyed it very much. And then they gave a variation on a conditional sentence. Whenever I went to a birthday party, I would ask for the biggest slice. A slice is a piece of cake. This is a slice of cake. And then more often than not, meaning usually, they would go back for a second helping. A second helping means that they would have a second piece. So this first candidate gave a great answer. Let's look at the second candidate. Now, they use the word adore, meaning that they absolutely love something, and they use the phrase to be perfectly honest, which is very similar to if truth be told. It means I'm going to give my honest opinion. And then they finished with I was far more into. If you're into something, you really like it. You may be into video games or into basketball or into eating cakes. Let's take a look at the third question. Can you make cakes? Oh, I'm really at home in the kitchen. I love to bake cakes. The aroma of freshly baked pastries and desserts wafting through the air when they're fresh from the oven, that's one of life's greatest pleasures. I wouldn't have a clue how to bake a cake. I'm really out of my depth in the kitchen. I can heat up a ready meal or make some instant noodles, but I'm absolutely hopeless at anything else. For the third question, the first candidate starts with the phrase, I'm really at home in the kitchen. If you're really at home with somewhere, you feel comfortable, it's familiar to you. So you could be really at home on the basketball court, you could be really at home in the kitchen. They then talked about the aroma. The aroma is that smell of freshly baked food. It's a really nice smell. And the word wafting around means that it is moving around the air. And they use the phrase, it's one of life's greatest pleasures. That means it's one of the things that I enjoy most. You can use it for anything that you enjoy. Think about what is one of your life's greatest pleasures. Now, candidate 2 started with the phrase, I wouldn't have a clue, which means they have no idea how to do something. It's something they don't understand. And as a result, they are out of their depth, so they don't know what to do in the kitchen. They then finish with the phrase, I'm absolutely hopeless at. Put the stress on the adverb there. I'm absolutely hopeless, meaning that you're really, really bad at cooking, a little bit like me. It's a great phrase. Let's take a look at the next question. Are there any traditional Chinese cakes? The most famous is probably mooncake, which we eat during the Mid-Autumn Festival. They're made from egg yolk with a hard pastry exterior, and they're really sweet, so kids tend to love them. I have a friend from Yunnan, and she told me about flour cake, which has a flaky pastry and uses rose petals as a filling. Apparently, it's really popular there. I'm from the south of China though, and green bean or mung bean cake is much more in demand. It's absolutely yummy. For this question, the first candidate talks about mooncakes, which are probably the most well-known example of a Chinese cake. They mention what it is made from, the egg yolk, which is the yellow part of the egg, and they explain why they're popular. Because they're so sweet. So, or as a result, kids tend to love them. That was a nice, well-rounded answer. The second candidate also gives some examples of different types of cake which are popular in two different parts of China. They use the word apparently, and we use this word when we've heard something is true, somebody has told us, but we don't know for ourselves. We're not 100% sure. So the word apparently is a nice phrase if you're not completely sure of what you're saying. The candidate then finishes with the word yummy, which is a very informal alternative to delicious. Yummy is a gradable adjective, so you can say it's really yummy, very yummy, absolutely yummy, whatever you like. It's a really good answer. Let's take a look. The next question. Do you like to have some desserts after meals? They're definitely one of my guilty pleasures. There's no better way to finish off dinner than with a piece of chocolate cake or a slice of pie, particularly if there's some ice cream as well. Absolutely delicious. Not really. In my household, the starter and the main course are far more important. From time to time, we'll have some fruit just to round off the meal, but other desserts aren't really on the menu. For this question, the first candidate uses the phrase, one of my guilty pleasures. That's something that you really enjoy doing, even though it's considered unhealthy or a waste of time. Maybe video games are one of your guilty pleasures. They then use the phrase, there's no better way to, meaning that they really like doing this particular thing. There's no better way to spend the weekend, for example. And they finish with the word delicious, which is absolutely essential in this topic. Don't forget, though, that it is an ungradable adjective. Now, the second candidate has also got some nice language. I like the phrase to round off the meal. To round something off means to bring it to a close, to finish it. So you could round off your answer in the IELTS exam. And then they say that desserts are not really on the menu. Now that could be literally that they're not on the menu, or it could be metaphorical. If something's not on the menu, it means that we don't normally consider it or think about it. So maybe going to North Korea is not really on the menu. You don't think about it. So today we've looked at some great answers to this question and we've analysed the language used. Try and remember some of those phrases so that when you take the exam, answering this question really will be a piece of cake.